What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Dark and Twisted podcast. My name is Brian, and I am joined again by my co-host Jimmy. And today we're going to be talking season 3, episode 8 of the Showtime Paramount Plus Juggernaut original series, Yellowjackets. Episode 8 is going to be entitled "A Normal Boring Life." And you know what, Jimmy? We're just leading normal, boring lives here without our third wheel in
Yes,
Kathleen.
we are.
Something's missing. 2 weeks in a row. It's lousy. She is still overseas, apparently having a blast. Still texting us with updates about Yellowjackets. How was the episode? How did you guys like episode 8? She kept up, listened to the episode 7 coverage. So I appreciate the love there from Kathleen, and we miss you. Get home to us safe. But episode 8, when she asked us, what do you think about episode 8? It was a little bit of a, there was a lot to like. There was a lot that was questionable. And I guess I'll just lead into my opening rant. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is. We'll get this out of the way now. Hilary Swank has landed. Of course, she is Melissa. And you know what? I think there was a scenario where this played out similarly to how it did, and we get the reveal that Melissa is alive and she's with Alex. But I think the surprise or the shock value that could have been there was so just undermined by the fact that in episode 2 they had that, like, you know, the scene I'm talking about. I think it was the
Yep.
phone in the bathroom where they just smash cut to that and young Melissa. And
Yes.
Hilary
Yep.
Swank's wearing like a backwards baseball cap. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, that is so on the nose and unnecessary. And I
Yeah.
think there was a way to really do about 95% of the story that they did, but make it so much better and make me surprised and have this, holy crap, Melissa's alive. It's Hilary Swank. This is awesome moment. And none of it hit because I was like, oh yeah, it's Hilary Swank. And oh yeah, she's Melissa. Like I've been thinking for the past 6 weeks. So that took a
Yeah.
lot of the gratification out of it as a viewer and a admirer, a lover of this show. But I guess the bulk of the conversation with Melissa and Shauna was how you would expect it to be, and it was annoying at times. But I think the end part of the episode, where kind of everybody starts piecing together the truth or the reality around adult Shauna, I thought that was very satisfying, because even our
Yes.
boy Jeff and Callie are starting to be like, wait a second, what's going on? So that was a very nice kind of heel turn for a lot of the cast to just see her true colors, or maybe just call her out for that. But we're gonna get into that. And I guess the 90s plot line was all good stuff, but I feel like I want more substantial plot progression, and I feel like we're just dragging our feet and dragging our feet. And we've said it a couple times. How are we getting 5 seasons out of this show? And I think the answer
Yeah.
is we're stretching out 3 seasons worth of good material that could be pedal to the metal, and I would love every episode for 3 seasons, into 5 seasons worth of, is this necessary? This is taking too long. Like, Van's been sick for a season and a half. When are we going to have some closure on that stuff? Jimmy, I've been talking for a while, man. You've been nodding your head and saying, yep, yep, yep. Are you thinking the same things?
Yeah. For anyone on video, I did a lot of nodding my head. And like you said to start this episode, a lot of good stuff we're going to talk about, but unfortunately, a lot of not so good stuff. You always say this for most episodes, and it's that the floor of this TV show is high, right? No matter what, we're going to be entertained by this TV show. We're going to really enjoy it. But this was probably the worst episode of the season. I would probably say definitely actually. And it really does center around the Melissa reveal. I think you said it perfectly, Brian. The backwards hat, Jesus, come on, really? There's a few things that I've been talking about this entire season. The first thing was, why even tell us that Hilary Swank was cast at all? I understand by it for a marketing standpoint, maybe it was being forced by Showtime or Paramount because it's Hilary Swank and you want to have everyone know that Hilary Swank will be on this TV show. Big news. Watch season 3. We have Hilary Swank. But it just made it so obvious. We tried so hard to guess and make other theories because we were hoping it wasn't the obvious thing. And you're right. Like knowing the eighth person being alive as Melissa's not the problem. I think it just fell flat in general. And there's just certain things so far in this season. One is now the Melissa storyline, which we'll, of course, get into. But the other thing, too, is I go so back and forth with this other tie stuff. So back and forth. And
Yeah.
even this episode where we're trying to figure out supernatural, not supernatural, trauma, personality disorder, etc. I did an eye roll when we see the scene with other Ty where the guy with no eyes is behind her. It reminded me of like an anime thing where they're showing they're showing the evil. How do you say it from Death
in
Note?
Death Note, right? Shinigami.
So
Yeah.
I mean, it's just we're gonna break everything down, guys, and we promise we won't be Debbie Downers the entire time. But it's specifically the Melissa reveal. It had the opportunity to be big time and it just fell flat. And I think the writers and the showrunners believe that they hit it out of the park. And I think they believe people are going to be like, oh shit, when I really don't think that they will. And other Ty, I'm so excited for one episode and then I'm totally done the next episode. And then I'm back to being excited and then I'm back to being done. And right now I'm back to being done. So it's just all hitting me at once on this one episode. So let's just get started. We'll talk about it. There is plenty of
Yep.
good stuff to talk about.
So we always hit it chronologically. So let's just start in the 90s. And we actually start with the Shauna vision where she's working in a grocery store and Jackie strolls up dressed kind of like a mom or something like that. And they're scanning packaged meat because what else would they be scanning? And Shauna's like questioning, is this really what my life is becoming? Like, is this what it all sums out to? And Jackie's kind of like, I don't know, dude, I'm dead. You killed me, remember? And then there's these moths flying around in the light fixture. Is it a moth? Was I seeing that wrong? Is it supposed to be like a bee or something? I don't know. Moths in the light fixture. And that comes up again when she's talking to Melissa. So maybe this is going to be a little bit of a running theme with Shauna. I didn't take too much of it other than Shauna's got Jackie on the mind, maybe going a little bit cray.
Yeah. And are we going chronological with 90s first? Because technically this is her dream.
You know what? I always write past or future in all bold to start off a scene so I can see it easily. And this one did blend into Shauna in the car with the knife. So I jumped the gun on that. That was actually an adult Shauna storyline. But you know what? I'm actually okay that we did it. We'll circle back to that later. Let's do it chronologically. In the past, I guess the first thing we actually get in the woods is Misty waking up, which for some reason, I thought she rendezvoused with like Travis and Aquila or something, but they just left her out here after saying, hey, go 1v1 Joel McHale, even though he's got a crossbow. And again, she's still just like looking for her glasses, which I was anxious that she would not find the glasses or they would be completely crushed. And could you imagine being blind in this situation? They would kill her. They just would put her out of her misery. That would happen. Thank goodness one lens is significantly cracked, but it's only the one lens. She's going to be okay.
She really just gets sandbagged left and right, man. She gets told to go, like you said, 1v1 with Kodiak. She dodges the crossbow arrow. And then Aquila and Travis, I understand if you really want to think of it this way, Travis straight up was like, all right, we're getting out of here. Take us home. Yeah. So he didn't think to go get Misty, but that's the problem. He didn't think to go get Misty. And she literally, I guess, fell asleep while she was looking. And this is another scenario where we were talking about Lottie over Edwin's body. Hours later, you're seeing light. This is the same thing. It's light out now. She's looking for her glasses. Yeah. It's hours later. You feel bad for Misty. It's so funny. It's back and forth with Misty too. Just, oh, she's crazy. Oh, you feel bad for her.
We've said this again and again. You do want to sympathize with Misty because she does get bullied. She does get disrespected, and people in the comments get upset because she is batshit crazy. Like, she is crazy,
Yeah.
even from a young age, destroying the black box. And that makes it easier. You could be like, okay, there's a reason why she's getting this disrespect, but I still feel bad for the girl because she's just like a high schooler trying her best. And we all know that kind of like nerdy girl archetype. It's tough being in high school, you know? So I
Yeah,
still
of
feel
course.
for Misty in the scenes like this, but makes it a little bit easier because she destroyed the black box, etc., etc. So Travis and Akila kind of have a noteworthy back and forth here, because not only is Travis like, let's get out of here, just us three, a smaller group, which I think is a little bit of a BS excuse. I'm not sure if he was like, the girls are starting to ascend in their craziness. I
Oh
gotta
yeah.
leave, and we will come back for them for sure, but I'm looking out for number one. I think there was a little bit of that. And then there was the acknowledgement, Akila, you're not a prophet. I made it up. Point blank, done. Signed, sealed, delivered.
Kathleen, we miss you. We wish you were here. We specifically wish you were here so that we could talk to you about this scene hilariously. But no, we really do miss you. We're glad to have you back for episodes 9 and 10. But yes, this is the confirmation. Me and you saw it right away.
Yeah.
Plenty of the other audience, including Kathleen, didn't see it right away. But Travis is looking out for himself. I mean, just think about it. Season 1, Doom coming. From that very moment, he knows that things can go very, very bad with these girls. I don't blame him for saying, let's get the hell out of here and then we'll come back and save them, because it's not even that bad of a plan. Because again, when you have Kodiak here, there's a risk. If you bring him back to the girls, we already know what the end of this episode entails. So
Right.
there's the risk, right? Akila's not really down with it. Once they have this talk and he kind of lets her know, like, you're not a prophet. I threw you under the bus. Chill the hell out. She follows his lead, but she starts leaving a trail. And that's what leads Misty to the trail. And then that gets Misty to the girls, and the girls will eventually get back to Kodiak, Travis, and Akila. And I don't know if Kodiak was learned of this and he just wasn't really showing it or what, but it was starting to get pretty damn obvious that Akila was buying for time,
Right.
and she was, waiting for the girls. And then all of a sudden you hear movements in the shrubbery and the trees. And I'm surprised Kodiak didn't right away just be like, okay, freaking come out. But
Yeah.
momentarily they all do come out, and it's a pretty badass scene. It's, again, just like we were talking about when they were hunting Hannah and Kodiak. It was so cool to see them close their eyes, listen like they're hunters. And it's the same kind of thing, just like appearing out of the shrubbery at all,
Right.
on all sides, like a pack of animals. It was badass. And Travis is like, shit, man.
So I guess there's that scene where they're questioning Hannah, but I want to fast forward and keep the focus on Travis and Akila, because when they go back to camp, Shauna's like, Travis, what the hell, bro? You were just going to leave us here? And he says, like I said, kind of a flimsy excuse of, we thought it would be faster to go as a small group. And Akila immediately comes in and has his back and validates that. She
Right.
could have been like, no, guys, you have no idea. He wasn't being like thinking of us at all. Like, he just wanted to get out. She did not go that route. So, and Akila, number one, I want to say she's been a much bigger character this season. I like
Yes.
that. She's always kind of been in the background. I think it's an interesting character. I like that they kind of paired her off with Travis and Lottie, and they've kind of had that storyline. I've enjoyed a lot of that. But this is also consistent with her character. She is definitely one of the girls who hasn't, well, I was going to say hasn't lost her humanity, but she certainly bought into the wilderness religious aspect of it. But I don't think
Yes.
she's gone full Lottie with it. I don't think she would be the type to take a hatchet to Edwin or do anything
Right.
crazy like that. She's just a a good mannered person. I don't know how to say
Yeah.
that. Like, that's
Yeah.
not in her nature to be violent or aggressive, even
Right.
conversationally, and throwing Travis under the bus.
Yes, exactly. She's changed just like every other girl has, and she has dealt with everything that they have, but she hasn't changed in the way of, she is not going to cause violence. She's still a very
Right.
caring, nice person, and that is why she's one of the best characters now. And I'm glad they're still showing someone. And she's similar to Travis because we talked about the same kind of thing with Travis last week in last week's episode. But you see her with the animals, which we'll get to later, but she's very caring with the animals. And it's a very good characteristic for Aquila. It makes her a great character. It shows that she is on the other end of the spectrum where, yes, she has bought with into the wilderness stuff, but it's more so about like, maybe this wilderness can get us home. Maybe these visions can help us.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I just kind of wanted to shout out Aquila because I like the character. I like that she didn't turn in Travis. I just like that whole interaction. So let's circle back at the camp before the Yellowjackets catch up with Misty and track down Kodiak, Travis, etc. They are questioning their now prisoner Hannah, and noteworthy stuff. Hannah does remember the Yellowjackets story. She was like, "Oh, I remember that. That was months ago, and that it was a big thing, national news. Like they searched for months." She kind of alludes, "No one's looking for you guys anymore, though. Like they've called it." Shauna gets pissed. She's like, "Are you kidding me? Our family didn't." Like Shauna's always pissed, so this isn't news. But she's also getting a little bit irked that Hannah is not going to be the helpful one. If anybody has value, it's Kodiak. She's like, "I don't know where we are. I don't know how to get to the pickup point. I don't have a phone. Like, I'm just as lost as you," which if that's the case, then she's dead weight. But she's like, "But listen, Kodiak might be able to help."
And it's a fair reaction from all the girls, not Shauna, but all of the girls asking her a million questions at once. And I did really like that scene where it basically just closes in on every single girl just being like, blah, 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 a million questions at Hannah. Yeah. And then Hannah's actress's reaction with her eyes wide open, just being like, I don't know what you want me to say. And it is so unfair of Shauna. Like, if you're Hannah, yes, you saw it in the news, but that doesn't mean you know these people. It doesn't mean you were in their same town. Doesn't mean you're related to any of them. You see it in the news and it's awful, but then you just move on and you're not really going to look into it too much more.
Right.
They're acting like Hannah should have been following it every second and should be the one looking for them. And I understand another side of it will be that like Sean is hurt that it seems as though their families and their friends gave up. But Hannah doesn't even know that. All she knows is that I saw it in the news months ago and it seems like they called it, right? That's it. That's all she knows. And overreaction city, especially from Shauna, but that is no surprise at all.
Definitely. And we already went over how Kodiak gets back into the camp. They tie him up and then they're like, "Okay, so you're the guy that can get us to the pickup point." He says it's a 6-day hike. So I'm actually looking forward to the fact that we set up this 6-day hike because I think it's going to get a little bit crazy there. And the power dynamics, Nat is still a leader within the group. There is no doubt about it. I think the other girls look up to her. They respect her decision making. And I think everybody knows that she's more stable than Shauna. But Shauna is the leader. And anybody who's going to try and challenge her position is going to get barked at. So while they're kind of rallying the troops and trying to make plans for the 6-day hike, they were butting heads a little bit. And Shauna's like, "You're not the leader, like there's a reason for that." So interesting dynamic to keep an eye on.
Yeah. And I want to quickly get into burying Edwin. I understand that Hannah is going through a traumatic experience. She's lost in the wilderness. Feral girls are chasing her down. She thinks she's about to die. But there wasn't that much emotion for carrying your dead significant other to his grave.
So did we get any confirmation that they even were romantic? Because I was thinking the same thing. I was like, you're taking this surprisingly well.
I felt like they were together. Like there was the scenes in the episodes where they were introduced where she's like kind of leaning back and his arms are around her in the tent.
Yeah, true.
There's just, I mean, like you said in the actual episode, I don't know that they were married and they probably weren't, but I fully believe that they were a thing.
I would agree. It was a little surprising how much that seemed like an afterthought. But to be fair, she might just be in survival mode. Like he's already gone. I got to make sure I'm okay. So I clocked that too. You were not the only one. Like, Hannah, show a little love for Edwin, man.
Yeah, and
But
guys, hit us up, bingetowntv.com/Discord. Click the link in the description. Join our free community. Let us know. I mean, if there's hints or if there's things said that we missed that they're not together and they're just two researchers, but I really, really thought they were together. But the dynamic between Natalie and Shauna is very, very interesting for the rest of this season because you're right. Natalie didn't lose as much clout as we thought she would because deep down, all the girls probably know, or at least most of the girls know, that Natalie never did anything wrong, right? They were able
right,
to be skewed by Ty during the trial, but also by fear with Shauna. And it just depends on your personality type. Are you going to go with the person like Shauna that you think is just going to be like the protector? She's such a badass that you follow the alpha, or Nat, who is literally the best person for the job, most likely the best person
right.
for the job. And it seems like they are really going to butt heads and it is going to seem like a power dynamic. And obviously, I'm not going to push forward to the end of this episode, but that gets weird and we'll talk about that. But I'm proud of Nat. Nat's taking charge like she should, trying to get everyone back together, trying to get everyone excited, trying to get everyone ready to go. Gather your shit. Let's get the hell out of here. We're going home.
Well, and the thing Nat's seeing, Sean is still petty, like, I'm the leader. What are you doing? Nat's like, we are potentially 6 days away from getting out of hell. Put aside petty leadership disputes. We need to work together, all of us. Like, what the Lottie comes up and is like, I don't think we should leave. Nat's like, shut the hell up. Sit down right now, Lottie. Get out of my face. Not right now. No, we are
Yeah.
leaving.
It was an awesome line where Hannah's like, oh, are you the captain? And then Nat's like, no, the captain's dead. And like looks at Shauna, like gives her
Yep.
daggers. And it cracks me up because it's true. It seemed like Shauna is trying to take the reins like we always knew she would. Are
Mhm.
you the captain? No, the captain's dead.
Now that this idea of a potential rescue is in their heads, we get this fun little montage of Misty is daydreaming that she's on a toilet and finally gets to use actual toilet paper. She like rubs it against her face. Mari is watching Hannah bury Edwin, and her little Yellowjackets water bottle turns into like a giant Slurpee. And Van is
Yep.
just like loving life in this bed with all the pillows and stuff. I just really like that montage because, of course, you would start to get a little feel in yourself when you're that close.
Yeah.
But Ty comes in, talks to Van, and this stick a pin in what he said. Obviously,
Right.
Ty shares concerns with Van. Hey, we have been able to be together out here. That won't be the case back home. We'll have to hide that. But not only that, we're going to have to lie about everything we did out here for the rest of our lives.
Right.
Essentially, this is going to follow us, which we know is true because we know them as adults. And Ty also says, look, we can say and brush it under the carpet. We're going to have to kill these scientists. That is going to have to happen. And Van's like, this is kind of Van's MO. She's like, worry about it. Like, we can get out of here. That's the priority right now. Like, come on,
Yep.
just come on, get on this hike. Let's do it. Pack your stuff. And this is where we see that amazing scene, 10 out of 10, with the no-eyed man behind Ty. I actually didn't think it was that bad, but it was a little
Well,
on the nose.
so I don't think Ty was off base with what she was saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we're going to have to kill these two hikers. I'm not talking about that. But what I'm talking about is there should be a fear in her that this is going to not be good when they get home because of what they did, because of questions they're going to have to answer. That doesn't mean you don't go home, but it is something that should be talked about. And Ty is being logical here, having this conversation. But that doesn't
Right.
mean that you say, we're not going to go home. You don't do what you did in the wilderness in the first place. But there is a good point here where they do say, I forget who actually says it. I think it was Nat, but they got to the point where they just stopped believing that they were going to go home ever.
Right. And now there's belief again. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's that weird thing. I'm of the mindset like, girls, you did what you had to do to survive. I'm not even sure how that investigation, and in fact, maybe that's what season 5 is going to be. It's like them being questioned by like high profile case, FBI, whatever it winds up being, like, what actually happened out there and how they have their
Right.
story straight. But I'm getting ahead of myself. After that scene, we have this Mel and Shauna catch up, and Mel's like, hey, I kind of got shot by an arrow and you didn't
Right.
even check if I was okay. Like a little lover's spat, if you will. And Shauna was like, I just wanted to be the one to catch the guy. I was so pissed. Like I knew you were going to be okay. And it is what it is. And we also see as Mel slightly forgives her and is excited about going home, the moths appear behind Mel and Shauna kind of zones out. So
And I will say there is some good things that come out of the adult Shauna and Melissa conversation later, as much as we were kind of saying it fell a little flat. And the connection to this conversation is very important. And to me, you can let me know your thoughts, but I just fully took it as she's full of shit, just like she always is. Like even
yeah.
saying I had to be the guy or I had to get the guy that was going after my girl, all of that. BS, BS, BS. It's so obvious in this scene, lost in thought, not thinking about Melissa
Right.
whatsoever. So distracted. Melissa gets her attention again, and she just has to get her back into her good graces good enough. I
Yep.
mean, she starts it right away. She's like, dude, what's your problem? Like, it's Shauna. He's like, what, dude? What? What are you pissed about now? Like,
Yeah.
I don't care, And Melissa was hinting at that by some looks early in the episode. And
Mhm.
we saw when she got shot. I mean, she screams for Shauna, don't leave me, right?
Yeah.
Shauna does say that now. I love this line, one of the most infamous lines that's going to be in this TV show. If she dies, you die. But
Yeah.
that shows a little love.
It
That's a
does.
little Shauna love. That's a little Shauna love, but still, it wasn't good enough for Melissa. And to me, Melissa's young. Was she in love? Eh, that's a good conversation for later. But she's easily distracted back into just saying, okay, little smirk there. She's a little bit more happy. Shauna's giving her a little bit more attention. Oh, my girl, you wanted to protect me. You wanted to go get the guy who got me. Okay, fine. We'll be okay for now.
Yeah, I think they're good for now. I have a feeling the falling out happens after the rescue or closer to the rescue. I think this mended the fence for now.
Yeah.
But moving on, we have a nice Wonderwall transition from the adult
Oh,
timeline to the 90s timeline. And I'll call it out when we're going through the adults, but it's kind of them all packing up their stuff, preparing for the hike. Wonderwall's blasting in the background, and I just love it. But
me too.
he, wasn't it great? I was
It
like
was so
bobbing my head.
good.
It was even on the poor episodes, the music in this show
Oh,
is always on point. Always, always,
Kathleen
always.
would be on this podcast absolutely gushing over the placement of that song if she could be on here. Kathleen, we miss you.
Oh, boy, do we. Okay. So girls are preparing for their trip. Wonderwalls, the vibes are good. Boom,
Yep.
bucket of cold water. Akila has her vision of all the dead plants, all the dead animals. She's like having a panic attack. And then Lottie comes up and she's like in the animal pen, grabs her on the shoulder, like, hey, what are you seeing? Is everything okay? Akila's like, is this real? Are they actually okay? Lottie's like, yeah, girl, like, we're good. So, hey, not for nothing, Akila is now having a vision outside of the caves. What wilderness, Jim?
What wilderness? Back to Lottie quickly. I was a little surprised at the lack of all of the girls just being like, "What the hell, Lottie?"
Yeah.
as an immediate reaction, like we thought they would. But we get enough of your crazy Lottie in a little bit. But for a second, I thought that the curtain was going to be pulled and it was going to be the reveal that everything actually is shitty. Would have been kind of cool to have them on cloud nine with their toilet paper and their slushies and all this. And then all of a sudden, it doesn't go back to the golden tinted huts. It
Yeah.
goes all the way to how shitty it actually is. But Hannah does say this is the second time since Coach Ben and
Yes.
now Hannah. She says, you guys did this. Props to you. I
Yeah.
think we're here. We're good. We're not going to get that theory is broken. I don't think we're getting that it was shittier than it actually was. But this vision is interesting. were to assume that the vision means that all the animals are dead and everything is dead around them, did you take anything from it? Like, what are you, bad omen vision, or
I think bad omen vision. Maybe this is too surface level, but it's like big news. You guys might get rescued. The vision is telling you death around you, like bad things
right?
happening. Yeah, just a bad omen vision, and that'll plant the seed maybe for Aquila. Certainly, that's all Lottie needs to confirm her suspicions. We can't leave, but even Aquila is probably like something's going on here. And this is actually
Right.
one of the better things how they framed this episode. Like all of the people who choose to stay kind of say, ever since these scientists showed up, I've just felt it.
It's a feeling.
There's
Yeah.
been a shift. It's a feeling. And I sometimes I hate when that's the only explanation, but in this one it kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Whether for the thousandth time it's supernatural or not, for Yellowjackets, for everything that's going on, saying there's a feeling, that was something written well into this, because again, it's back to that devil's advocate that we've been talking about every single episode. What is the feeling? Is it the wilderness? What wilderness? Or is it just the certain people, Shauna, Ty, Lottie, who believe that if they go home, they won't belong anymore? Shauna's freaking knifing people, telling people in the present day timeline to eat their skin, and Lottie knows that Lottie knows
Shauna's
that when she gets
crazy.
back, I know she really is. Lottie knows that when she gets back, there's going to be big problems for her just because of all the medication and the mental hospital and what her dad's
Mhm.
going to do about everything. And then we have Ty, who's the specific one who was saying we're going to literally have to lie for the rest of our lives. So the devil's advocate is so strong here. It's three girls that it makes sense that logically they may not want to go home, but at the same time, by saying there's a feeling, it's just a feeling. Could they be lying,
Yep.
or could that feeling be what wilderness? Something supernatural.
And it is just Ty, Shauna, and Lottie, right?
So far, right now at the second, yeah,
What a squad. If they wind up
right,
being separated, just them for any, like, even if it's just the 6 days, maybe like 2 weeks, because they're not getting out right now. So they hike 5 days, 5 days back, whatever. Oh man, the conversations these three are going to have is going to be off the rails, and I'm looking forward to it. The one thing I don't want to glance over is Nat goes back to the plane wreckage and just says
yes,
like goodbye to Coach. Like, I wish you were here to see this. And I was just getting like hitting the season one vibes, like seeing that plane
yeah,
crash wreckage, because we haven't been there in a while.
we have not, and a lot of people joked about this, and we're obviously not going to get there. It's not going to be the day that they get saved, or it's not going to be the 6 days when they get saved. But a lot
Yep.
of people joked, like, can you imagine Coach Ben gets eaten and then they get rescued the next day? Well, Nat pretty much believes that right now. And
Yeah.
it makes a lot of sense that she's very upset, very in her emotions about the fact that Coach Ben doesn't get to go home. So that was a very, very good scene.
Hmm.
And here we go again, right? She's hearing things moving. There's something on top of the plane, to the left, to the right. She's looking down the plane. We've seen it before where she's inside this plane, where she has the hallucination, the vision of the
Yeah.
actual antler queen. We don't really see anything, but Nat says, like, I don't have the exact line, but she pretty much is like, we're going home. You're not going to stop us.
We're going home. We're leaving, whatever you are. I
Yes.
don't care. You're something. I acknowledge you, but we're out. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the final scene where the girls plant their flags. Lottie starts and says, I'm not staying. And she kind of says, this is the real me out here. Whatever this is, I'm in tune with the wilderness. Back home, that's not the real me. I'm medicated, all of this stuff. Like, I just feel it in my bones. And she says, we are safer here. Like, which
Right.
is a
Yep.
crazy thing to say, but she believes
Yep.
that. So, all right, Lottie, go off, girly pop. Shauna then joins the team and says she's staying too, just doesn't feel right. And then Ty puts the bag down and she's like, I'm with it. Whatever they're feeling, I felt it too. It doesn't feel right.
And in this moment, are we thinking other Ty? Are we thinking Ty? I was really looking close at her because we know when she's younger, when she's other Ty, her eyes get a little bit closed-ish, and she has a little bit of different voice. It's gonna be okay, But either way, it doesn't matter. Ty put her bag down.
You're right. It doesn't matter. Good Ty, bad Ty. She's staying. She has planted her flag. For my money, that felt like good Ty. Like you said, like younger Ty is more obvious when it's bad Ty. So I thought that was good Ty, but that's just how I read the situation. Could go either way. Another great Nat moment where she's like, well, shit, guys, have fun. We're out of here. Like, if you want to do this, by all means.
Last week, I was talking about Liv Hewson. Now I want to talk about Sophie Thatcher. Clap, clap, clap. And you're right. All these actresses, all these actors, adult, present timeline, they're all slam dunks. But Nat here with the frustration, the emotion that she's showing when it starts with Lottie and she's like, come on, Lottie, my gosh. And she's expecting fully for it to only be
Yeah.
Lottie here, right? And then
Mhm.
Shauna, and then it's like, and then it's Ty, and she's like, oh my gosh, we are, and then we
Yeah.
have the van reaction. And I'm surprised as of now, but I do believe that, well, we'll see. We'll talk about it in a second. But Van is like, we are going home, right? The joke we
Yeah.
were making, or the statement we were making about her being on the fence, she can go left, she can go right with this feral, with this humanity. Last episode showed more for her humanity side. She's still leaning humanity side right now. At some
Yeah.
point, she puts the mask on and she chases Pit Girl.
Mhm.
But for now, she still wants to go home.
Yeah.
So then we get to something ridiculous but awesome, because I want to know how this is going to play out. Shauna says, you guys aren't leaving either.
Yeah.
You're staying too. And Nat looks back like, whoa, what the hell did you just say? And what could Shauna really do to keep all of them? Now she's in the minority here, but something's going to happen. And I know you're about to jump in. I want to say this before you jump in because I want to get your thoughts on this too. We've been saying for a very long time that there is a chance that these girls split in two.
Yeah.
Do you think this happens right now?
This seems as good an opportunity as any, and I would like for them to explore that, if I'm being
Now,
honest. If this winds up being like a month plus of these two groups being separated, I think that would be very interesting. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is we know that Melissa and Jen get very, very close to Hannah. So I think the other group is going to survive a while, including Hannah and maybe Kodiak. But like, yeah, I actually like that. They're certainly going to be split up for about a week minimum.
and let me throw this out at you, because we know that winter's coming, and Ned Stark says it best, man. But
Yeah.
when winter comes, we're down to 8. There's still members of the Yellowjackets that you see in these scenes in the background where I'm like, is that girl new this episode? Because I swear I didn't see her
Yeah.
this entire season. But either
Yeah.
way, it's enough where a lot of people have to die.
Mm-hmm.
And we know a lot of strands of hair have to get added to Antler Queen's wardrobe. But we have Ty, we have Lottie, and we have Shauna. And if something happens where it gets split, Van's not leaving Ty. Those are 4 of the 8 that we know are 4 of the 8, right? 4 of the feral 8 hunters. Then
Yeah.
Misty's there. I mean, we don't know for sure, but we need Nat, obviously. We don't know for sure how
Mm-hmm.
she's going to join back with the crew.
Travis
But
gets out.
but I don't know, like, what if there's just a straight throwdown and a lot of girls get killed in the next episode, in this next moment?
Hey, well, you're saying next episode, and would you say that happens because they try and come back and Shauna, Ty, and Lottie are
Like,
aggressive, or like Kodiak takes some of them out, something like
no,
that?
I'm saying, like, what if I brought up the split, and I think, like, if I'm going to put it on the board, I would go split first.
Mhm.
But what if the very start of the next episode in the 90s timeline, Van gets talked into going to the other side, maybe Misty too, because she's going to join Shauna, the Alpha, etc. We get Jen, whoever it is, certain people join the one side, and it is just a straight the people that choose Shauna's side attack. And then whoever's left has to be with them, and Shauna's the leader. And boom, we're feral.
Is there a potential that this split, and I like what you just said, maybe Van and Misty jump sides, that this split exists up unto the winter and into even the pit girl scene? Like maybe they are still two different split groups, and the way that they survive is by hunting from the other group.
Could be. Yeah. And the thing that's going to be the craziest about it is whether it's a throwdown immediately or it's a break, they break into two. Somehow, Nat's going to have to jump back to the Shauna side.
Right.
Which we've seen, as we've talked about it, we've seen like Melissa will join Shauna, right? Melissa will join Shauna, Van will join Ty. We now know we have our 8. We know who our 8 are. Nat's the biggest one here that would be, why does she join back with them? Because she is the biggest adversary right now.
Yeah.
An adversary means she's the protagonist.
Yeah.
And Travis. Like, Travis has seemed from the very beginning to just be like, fine. Like, wherever he has to go, he's goes,
a floater.
Right?
He's a floater.
Yeah.
Yep. Nah, I just like pulling on this thread. This is a very interesting thing to play around with. I love that you're bringing up that the girls are going to split up, and I like where you're going with a Shauna-led, small, carved-out group could get really feral, really quick, get aggressive. I like it all, and honestly, I could see it happening. I want to circle back to the line where you were like, what did it mean? How do you take it when Shauna responded to Nat saying, we're getting out of here, and she says, no, you're not. Right. I think that was Shauna, one, trying to be intimidating, but two, standing on business, saying, I feel it in my bones. This wilderness is no joke. You guys are making the wrong call, and you're going to get punished for it. I know for a fact so confidently, whatever is on the end of this hike, it is not you getting out of this woods. You're not leaving. You're staying right here. I didn't think that immediately meant I am going to stop you guys from leaving. I think she, in her mind, is like, I am so utterly confident that this little adventure you're going on does not end in you guys being rescued. So you should stay here, but you're not because you're dumb. Boom.
Wow.
That's how I took that.
Okay. So I'm very different, and I wish we had Kathleen. That's interesting. I like your take there because I took it as, I've always took it as Shauna is not really about the group at all. She's always been about herself, and that is a theme in the adult timeline in this episode. And I took it as Shauna's deciding she's staying, and she's deciding they're staying because I say so, and you're not going to leave. So, I mean, you already got my take. You know that I was weirded out because I'm like, how is she going to get all of them to stay? Because really, it's just her, Lottie, and, you know.
That's what I thought. Like, she literally doesn't have the numbers. And maybe if like the Van and the Misty and maybe Akila and Travis both follow Lottie, maybe then it's more realistic. But right now, I'm like I just said, I think she is so confident this is not going to end well for you. I feel it. The wilderness is not ready for us to leave. No matter what, y'all aren't getting out of here. Like, I don't even have to force you guys not to go. It's not happening. You're going to regret it. I'm pretty confident in that. I feel good about that theory. And I think there is going to be this wildly humbling scene where Nat comes marching back into camp, tattered, broken, probably lost Kodiak, a couple of the girls. And it's like, we messed up. We made the wrong call. Shauna, Ty, and Lottie are going to be thriving in camp. And they're going to be like, wow, look who comes marching back. Just like I said, totally validated in all of her flawed, but at the end of the day, correct leadership decisions. And I think that's going to establish, okay, so me, Ty, and Lottie are top dogs no matter what. We are maybe even no longer in the drawing for the cards. Like all three of us are like, know what I'm saying? I could see a
Yeah,
scenario where
no.
it's like, you guys can live with us, but there is now a pecking order. Y'all wanted to leave, ditch us, and you were wrong.
Very, very interesting. Your theory there answers the question that I had about how could Nat come back. Now, my counter question would be, do you believe that what causes the failure for the other group is going to be supernatural? Or do you think, again, it could be another one of those, just a failed 6-day mission back to rescue
Well, hey,
what
man, it's like,
wilderness?
is a random landslide the wilderness,
Yeah,
or
it
is it
doesn't
just a
matter.
landslide? You
Exactly.
know, is there an earthquake? Exactly. But I could see something like that happening. Or they've been alluding, winter is coming, winter is coming. Maybe day one of the hike, it's okay. Day two of the hike, wow, it's getting pretty dang cold. Day three of the hike, boom, blizzard. Like they are caught completely off guard, unprepared, have nowhere to go. They're already too far away to hike back, and they're just screwed. Like,
Cool.
and that would lend to a total what wilderness type of
Yeah.
situation. Is it coincidence? Is it the wilderness's will? That is where my head was going. But that all comes back to, I think this is a really interesting thing that they're going to explore, the separation of the girls. And
Yes.
hey, I'm looking forward to it. That is going to be our episodes 9 and 10 for sure.
As much as we said this episode fell flat in certain ways, you can hear us as the listener gushing about certain things and certain theories that we
Oh
have.
yeah.
And for the millionth time, this floor is high for this TV show, and we're always entertained, and we can't wait to watch more. But we have like 4 branches that can happen off this tree, man.
Oh
Whether
yeah.
it's what I said, what you said, anything in between. I'm excited to see what happens next, because that was a very interesting way to end the episode. And I will say that when Shauna said, like, we're not leaving, I rolled my eyes a little bit, but it was like in a good way, because I'm like, freaking
Yeah.
Shauna, right?
Yep.
So let's go.
Hey, I liked it. Yeah, that was a strong
Yeah.
note to end on for the 90s plot line. And like I said, sets up a good episode 9 and 10. The reason this show has such a high floor for me, and maybe this is unique to us because we dissect and podcast this
Yes.
show, I am really invested in these characters. Definitely the
Agreed.
young girls. It's
Agreed.
the acting, is they knock it out of the park, but like they're crafting these characters, the younger version of them, very, very well. The older ones, it's fun, still acted well, but come on, the well's going a little bit dry on the storylines in the
Right.
present day
Exactly.
timeline, but I don't want to belabor the point. It's great. Also, side note, you were calling out Sophie Thatcher as Nat, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Sophie
She,
Nélisse is Shauna. Yeah.
yes. So Nat's actress is in a movie with Jack Quaid
I
that
did
released
see
in the
that.
past 6 months, and it looks like a very interesting plot. I'm
And
probably
I
gonna check
think
it
it
out
actually,
because I
like,
love
just
her.
released, like, in the last month or so, unless
Oh, there you
I'm
go.
a
No, I
companion.
think you're
Let's
right.
see.
It might have had a 2025 release. It is
Yeah,
called Companion
2025.
for anybody who wants to check it out. Apparently they
January
did
31st, so yeah,
yeah,
you're right, couple months.
apparently they did a, I don't know, exit survey of people at the movie theaters. Why did you see this movie? Like a third of them said to see Sophie Thatcher. And I was like,
Yeah.
dude, freaking Yellowjackets high, buzz, buzz, buzz. The girlies are
Buzz,
out
buzz,
to
buzz, let's
see
go.
our girl Nat on the big screen. I love it. She's a great actress, and
She
that's
is,
a good
and
gig.
it's really cool when they do backstage, like, behind the scenes stuff for interviews. Jack Quaid did an interview, and Sophie Thatcher along with him, for the movie, and Jack Quaid's like, "She's one of the coolest people I've ever met." And then there's the same thing, like, red carpets, where all the girls and
Yeah.
Travis, all those actresses and actor, they say Sophie Thatcher's the coolest. So it's awesome. All
I
these people
love
love each other, and we love that.
Yeah. I love hearing that about any actor or actress when people just universally are like, oh, they're great. Love them
Yeah,
on set. Like they're a great talk. Like just love hearing that. All right. Are we good with our
100%.
with our 90s storyline?
Let's do the present day. Let's get it
Yep.
done.
Let's do the present day. So we already talked about the Shauna vision that opens up with Jackie, and then it cuts to adult Shauna in her car with her knife, about to go into presumably Alex's house, the daughter of Hannah. So she goes in there. She slept in her car with the knife like an insane person just parked on the street because just Shauna being Shauna. It's morning and she goes in. No even thought about it. She just marches through the house like so ridiculous, man. Dressed like this just housewife or whatever.
Mom, yeah.
Just dressed like a mom holding the knife. And then she beelines it to hide in the closet when this family comes in. And it's Alex. It winds up being Alex, Melissa, and their daughter. Was it a boy or a girl? Doesn't
I
matter.
believe it was daughter. Yeah.
Alex and the daughter leave the house. And this was a good scene because Melissa immediately picks up like the biggest knife in the house, looks through the little screens in the door, and it's just like, all right, whoever you are, you picked the wrong house to come into. Show yourself now. You're about to get the business. But it's Shauna, which this was actually kind of like for these two characters to meet like this, it's appropriate, but it would also be such a what the hell moment for both of them.
Yeah. So to start, you talked about it. She walks right into this house. The problem that I have with Shauna, and this is not on Melanie Lynskey at all. It's I've been saying this since episode 1. There's such a jarring to me difference, and we're getting closer. We're getting closer to 90s Shauna bleeding through into adult Shauna and her showing who she really is. And maybe that is what they're trying to tell us. Like, I've been saying it all season. It's by design. And I hope that she fully just like goes crazy again. Right. But I don't care for the comedic Karen to the 90s Shauna parallels, where at one moment they're trying to like sit there at the table and she's making a joke and it's supposed to be funny to the viewer because she's acting like a Karen, and the next moment she's throwing her on the ground and taking a bite out of her arm. Like, as a viewer, I saw and I have seen adult or young Shauna. I cannot see how that Shauna turns into that Shauna at this moment, the Karen Shauna, unless it is exactly as Melissa said, and it's Shauna is, I mean, Shauna saying it to Melissa, but Melissa saying it right back. You're living a lie. You're full of shit. If that's the truth, then fine. But I don't know. It's just not. It's not playing for me the way that it used to.
I agree. And that's the link. It's how does young Shauna that we see evolve into the Karen? How does that become any part of her persona? Even if she does live a lie, she would still be, I don't think that would be the personality that bubbles up to the surface. The adult Shauna we're seeing is not consistent with any version of the Shauna we've seen, even dating back to like episode 1 when they're still like in high school. So I'm with you there. Sometimes it doesn't track. It works, I think, because Melanie Lynskey is so charming and does what she does. But yeah, it A does not always go right to B for me. It just
Yeah. And from the very moment she's deciding with no fear to walk into the house, I get it. They're just trying to show that she's going back to 90s Shauna. I don't give a shit. I'm just going to walk right in. And it's very unrealistic, obviously. Doors unlocked, just walk in like you own the place and just going to wait there with a knife. But I think this moment is the moment I was talking about in the intro. And it is probably the best moment of their interaction, besides the very end, of course. But
yeah.
Shauna opening the door and Melissa saying, you know, come on out. You're messing with the wrong person. The eye to eye, the Melissa. I think the writers, I feel like they were waiting for us to all just be like, whoa, my goodness, this is crazy. When, you know, we've been theorizing it for a long time. And then with the hat on her head, it almost seemed like not serious. Because I'm like, you really need to freaking put that hat on her head?
That was almost a disservice to the character because, you know, someone in the writing room was like, hey, people might not recognize it as Melissa if we don't give her the hat. And it's like, you're not watching the same show if you can't be like, oh, wait, that's Melissa. Like, they've highlighted her enough, whatever. Putting the cap on was just like, okay, do you want to spoon feed me this and then wipe my ass afterwards? Like, come on, I can watch a TV show. But still, though, what are you doing here, Shauna? Into what are you doing alive? for better or worse, it was still a pretty good moment, even if it didn't have the what the hell factor that it should have. It was still all right. And I mean, their conversation, they do just kind of have this standoff. They're holding knives, and then they kind of are like, "All right, let's sit down. This isn't high school anymore. Let's put the knives down. We can talk about this." And I mean, a lot of it is just catching up with stuff we already know and calling them out. You know, you're living a lie. And it's like, what? I'm living a lie. You're living with the daughter of the woman we killed. And, you know, this, that, and the other thing. So they're both kind of like calling each other out for their hypocrisy or their fakeness, whatever it is. And all the while we have this Ty and Misty plot line going on in the hospital. I guess the first scene we see there is a doctor advising Ty, hey, it's time to put Van on hospice. So that's kind of where that one's leading. I guess we can pause or maybe not. How do you want to hit this? Do you want to just go through all the Shauna and Melissa stuff, or should
Yeah,
we hit it like nothing?
let's get Shauna and Melissa done here. And they have their conversation, and
Yeah.
really they're back and forth. There's certain things that are very good to pick out and talk about, and there's other things where it continued to fall flat for me.
Yeah.
Not on Hillary Swank, not on Melanie Lynskey. It just wasn't really doing it for me. But the
So,
thing that I did like was when Shauna says, "What? Because you were in love with me? Oh, or you're still in love with me?" Again, it's exactly what we've been saying about Shauna for so long. She is very, very self-centered, tunnel vision. Everything is about her.
yes.
And Melissa laughs, saying, "Come on." And she basically says, like, "I don't even think I ever did love you." And that goes back to what I was saying in the 90s timeline, right? Melissa went to Shauna, and maybe she liked her, and maybe she could have loved her, but Shauna didn't reciprocate, and it didn't turn into real love.
Yeah. So here's the thing. At any point during this episode, did you consider Melissa's full of shit? She is still stalker Melissa, does Loki love Shauna. She is plotting some sort of revenge against Alex and is maybe the craziest of everyone. Or do you buy this whole Melissa has found a therapist who is helping her release her darkness and get over it? I would love to believe that. That wouldn't be really entertaining for me. And then it would just be okay, so Shauna dug up this person from her past who has found peace and is just ruining her life. I would rather it be messy as hell when she makes her eat her own arm. She's like, haha, you got me. I'm still the same Melissa. That could kind of be low key entertaining. And then they just like become two freaks together, you know?
So I'm not against that at all. And what I will say is, I was thinking that they're trying to tell us a story where Shauna, again, believes everything's about her,
Yeah.
but they're low key saying that the Yellow Jackets in general made certain things like coincidences seem more important than they do. And we learned this with
Right.
Callie and Jeff having their conversation, where Melissa's like, "Bro, I didn't go into the bathroom and leave the phone, okay?
Right.
Someone happened to leave their phone and was playing a popular song. I didn't kill Lottie." Like, she just starts going down the line. "I didn't mess with your brakes. The only thing that I did was leave you a tape and a note. And I told you in the note that I was trying to let go." I will say that the one thing that I did not guess, and we said, okay, she's going to be Melissa. Hillary Swank is going to be Melissa. No way in hell did I guess that she was going to be married to
Yeah.
Pit Girl's daughter, if Pit Girl's Hannah's daughter.
Well,
But
and the whole thing about that is Hannah supposedly begged her, like, get this tape to my daughter. She needs to hear it. And for obvious reasons, Melissa, that's not a good idea. Obviously, she
right,
couldn't do that. I mean, do you buy the story? But are Cross like, if she wasn't giving her the tape, one, why did they meet? Maybe it's just like,
Stalker Melissa.
I liked Hannah, so I owed it to her, maybe just to like find out what her daughter's deal was. And then we met and then we fell in love. Like, doesn't that seem a little bit too perfect?
It shows that, yes, it's a little too perfect, and also it's a little too effed up, because Shauna says it exactly. Like, we freaking killed her mom,
Yeah.
and you watched over her, and then somehow crossed paths with her and fell in love with her and made her fall in love with you, and now you have a life with her, which is completely a lie, which, we've seen this in television and movies all the time, but I don't know how you can be married. It is married, right? They're married, or is it just they're together?
I want
I
to say
thought
married.
I thought
Tell
they
us in
said
the
married, but
comments,
either
though.
way,
Correct
like,
us. They're
yeah, hit us
together,
up on
having a
Discord,
life
of
together.
course. Yeah, and her name's Kelly, and it's like made up name, no big deal. Fake the suicide, no big deal. You
Well,
won't find out apparently.
her excuse was the cops found a note, didn't find a body, and she said took the win, which
Yeah,
maybe that's how it works. After a little bit, it's like, well, the note's set, like, done deal. I don't know. Like, I'm not sure if I would love it either way. If there was a heel turn and Melissa reveals she is still like Melissa from the past, but like, this seems too neat and tidy that she's like, oh, I found peace. I'm happy now with my wife. Like, Shauna says it. You don't get to have a normal life. You don't.
yeah.
After what we went through, you just don't. And maybe that's the whole thing. Melissa's like, no, we actually can. You're the one holding on to all the baggage. And totally I'm with you. Like, this is what they're going for. Maybe all of the Yellowjackets made more of things that were just coincidences. The break, the fridge, but all the stuff that happened in the 90s. So, you know, I'm actually starting to like a little bit more some of the themes that they were trying to play out in this Melissa Shauna storyline than I did in my initial watch through.
And it obviously ends with, I guess Melissa made the first move here. She did get close to Shauna and grab for the knife, and then Shauna throws her down. They roll around a little bit, and then Shauna gets on top and takes a chomp out of her arm and says, "You're gonna freaking
Yeah.
eat your skin." 90 Shauna's back, and to your point in the last episode, I don't know where the adult timeline goes. Do they just go straight crazy? And we have other Ty and we have Sean. Like,
Well,
I don't know.
that's the thing. We are on the precipice, and all of the plots are like Callie and Jeff's plot this episode is them acknowledging, okay, mom is crazy. Shauna
Yeah.
is crazy. We can't avoid it anymore. That is what's going on. Ty is on the precipice of just committing casual murder to try and maybe save Van. Van is on her deathbed.
And Misty's Misty.
Yeah, Misty, for her part, is the most sane of the bunch right now, trying to hold them all together.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's maybe I kind of hope for that because we've been a little bit stagnant in the present day storyline and it hasn't been going anywhere. And end of the day, if this is heading towards embrace the craziness, even as an adult, that's what you are meant to do. Even if it's maybe a what wilderness situation and they're
Yeah.
perceiving things different than what they actually are. Who knows? But
I'm not against it being non supernatural and it just being a story of girls believing that they're cursed and they just go through their lives and self-fulfilling prophecy, and it ends up going all downhill and they are all killed off and
yeah,
no one's left, and it really is just a story of that. I'm not against that. I'd like some supernatural, but we'll see. I mean, I'm not against that at all.
there's got to be some sort of supernatural. I just will always stand on that since
Yeah.
since the seance and what happened to Lottie speaking French. I was just like, there's something wacky going on here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I am interested to see what the overall audience reaction to the Mel and Shauna stuff is going to be because it seemed a little bit hit or miss. I think a conversation like this had to happen where it's like, and I'll tie a bow on this Mel and Shauna stuff. Mel says, Shauna, you create your own problems, and you have been doing that even since before the plane crash. A week before that, you were banging Jackie's boyfriend, your
Yep.
best friend's boyfriend. You did that. You create your problems. Your brakes were just old because you didn't have them checked. use clothes on their own and don't have safety unlocks. Like, this is all you, Shauna.
Yep.
She can accept that. And then we get the wrestling, bite out of the arm, eat it, eat it.
Melanie Lynskey being like that cracks me up, man.
Mm-hmm.
Badass. And I don't know how you turn back from that moment when you're Shauna. And the story could be here that Melissa did actually find a way to have a normal life, whether it's a huge lie or not. But whether it's wilderness, supernatural or not, she got
Yeah.
sucked right back in, and Shauna forced her back into the craziness. And she's back in. I mean, you can't not be in now for whatever is
Oh,
going to
yeah.
happen next.
Melissa might die. Shauna might kill Melissa.
Yeah. I mean, Hillary Swank cracks me up that they promoted her for the trailer and showed her in the trailer for the season, and she doesn't show up until episode 8. But hey, it is what it is.
It is what it is. Anything else for that?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. All right. So we have, like I've said, the hospital plot line and the Callie Jeff plot line. Let's save Callie and Jeff for last because there's some good stuff there.
Yeah.
The Misty and Ty plot line is, like I said, the doctor comes, tells Ty it's time to put Van on hospice. Like, she's terminal, it's getting bad. We can only make her comfortable. This sends Ty on a spiral. She's going around looking for other people that might be terminal so she can take someone out, buy a little bit more life for Van. And it's just Misty is kind of following her around like, yo, Ty, what are you doing, girl?
Yeah. And if I know anything about my homie, the wilderness doesn't care if you kill a terminal person. That's
No,
not
no,
the
no, no, no.
sacrifice.
Absolutely not.
So, other Ty may be trying her best, but it wasn't going to work either way. But I did laugh when she's stopping herself from using the pillow and then she screams and then the guy passes away or he flatlines and she's like,
Yeah.
does that count? Does that count? Does that count?
So was that her catching herself and turning back into good Ty, do you think?
I think she was fighting it. Yes, I believe she was
Okay.
fighting it there. Yeah.
And this is the first time we've seen good Ty actually represented because she's like banging on the door, like saying, let me in, like she needs me. And bad Ty's like, I'm the only one that can help. I don't know if that means much of anything other than good Ty is now getting more influence over the body.
Yeah, in season 2, when Ty was trying to fight going to sleep and she was having all of those issues, we saw other Ty in the mirror
Yeah.
moving separately from, Ty's body, and it's showing the parallel of two people. And this is the first time this season that we're seeing that, with her being represented as a body actually fighting with other Ties. So
Yeah.
again, like always, you could take it however you want. Supernatural, not supernatural, split personality disorder, mental illness kind of issue, trauma, or supernatural.
What are your odds? I want a percentage that Van makes it out of this season alive.
So I don't know if this is where I want it to go, and I don't know if this is where it should go. But if we do say that Shauna has gone cray, she took a bite out of Melissa, there's no going back. If Melissa or if Misty and Ty, if other Ty fully takes over and doesn't get stopped by Ty, good Ty, and kills somebody in a hospital, I mean, we're
Yep.
in full on entire group of of the adults are in craziness. It is
Oh,
over
yeah.
for them.
Yeah.
So if they go that route, then a sacrifice will happen, and if there's some wilderness, Van will come back. But is Van coming back going to be as much proof as we can ask for that supernatural exists? Because if she comes back, she comes back, right? I mean, you're going to tell me another spontaneous remission after they want to put her on hospice?
Yeah. Uh,
I think
it,
Van dies by the end of the season, but I think she's going to have more scenes. That's
well,
my percentage on her having more scenes where she actually speaks to Ty is going to be like almost
I
100.
I just think the adults need some validation that the nutty things they're doing are working in some way. So I do think someone's going to die. Maybe Shauna kills Melissa. Maybe Ty and Misty take someone out. And if that makes Van gets better, boom, we're all in. We're going back to being crazy. I don't know. I'd probably put it, we'll say 35% that Van makes it out of season 3 alive.
Okay.
And you know what? I'll probably juice that up because we've lost Lottie and Nat. Like, how many of our adults can we lose? That's the thing.
Let me ask you this question, and this is definitely a little wild, and I think I would say my percentage is under 50, but if the closer it gets to season 5, the higher it goes up.
Yeah.
What are the chances that they kill off the adult timeline sooner than the actual fifth finale? So, meaning if Misty wasn't involved, so I'm talking other Ty, Van, and Shauna and Melissa, I could see their storylines ending in season 3 and then dying in season 3.
Yeah,
Whether
I could
it's
see that.
Misty is a problem because unless she just gets caught up in it and they go to jail or they get killed somehow, whatever. But I believe that this show will eventually evolve into more about finishing the 90s timeline, but also showing us directly after they are rescued. Now, I don't understand what kind of resolution and conclusion they want to get out of this TV show, because this adult timeline, is it just going to be this? I don't see a happy ending. So what is a conclusion for this TV show?
Well, I have always perceived it as the wilderness is not done with them. The wilderness is hungry, and what's going to feed it? The blood of these girls. Like, it wants to take them out. So if it's still not satisfied, I could just see like it's haunting them still. And this is a trope that happens. You know, you have trauma, but it's not done with you. You know, it bleeds into adulthood. It's driving all of these girls nutty, and eventually it's going to be the thing that kills them.
Yep.
I could see that happening. Now, I do kind of think that at least one of the adults has to make it to the end, and maybe they, like the last episode, they're the last domino to fall, and it's like a good send-off or something like that. But I don't know. That's kind of always where I thought this thing was heading, is that the wilderness wants to take all of these girls out, even though it also helps these girls. Like, it supposedly put Van in remission because they killed someone else. Like, I think the focus of the supernatural entity is to dig into these girls, and it's not finished with them until it's finished, you know?
Yeah.
I couldn't see them taking out that many girls. You said Van, Ty, and Shauna by the end of season 3. Like, I could see it story-wise, but from a producing this show standpoint, no way. They're going to be through season 4. Maybe by the end of the season, like the back half of season 5 is all the high school age girls. I could see that.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And I'm with you. Like I said, as we get closer to the end of season 5, the percentage goes up that all the adults get killed off, in my opinion. But it would be a very, very crazy turn of events if they killed off the adult timeline as a whole before this show is over. And even if it's sooner, meaning anytime in season 4, I agree with you. I don't think it's going to happen in this season, but yeah. So are we finishing with Jeff and Callie? Is that what we got left?
We have to.
Yeah. Jeff's the freaking man.
Isn't he,
he's the
though?
best.
He's
What
the
a great
best.
Jeff episode. He is so good.
I would buy furniture from him 100%. The actual plot line is that they're realizing the truth of what Shauna is, but it's in the context of them hanging out at the Jolly Hitcher, and the two Joels from episode 1 show up and have this interaction with Jeff, and they wave him over. The line where he's just like, apparently I'm just the kind of guy that gets waved over and then comes to the person waving. Like, I guess that's just my life. Like, he's like, hey, listen, I would love to get another shot at this pitch. They're shutting him down. He sees the guy that they're there to meet, and he's like, listen, go with me, don't go with me. You cannot go with FurnitureFam.net. Guys are D-bags.
Yeah. And of course, the Joels are like, oh, staycation. That's what you call it about him and Callie. It's like, come on,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
Jesus. But it really is just the progression of Callie and Jeff realizing how selfish Shauna is. And, Jeff, we've talked about it. He's in plenty of denial. Secrecy is your love language, that kind of thing. He's such a gem. It's a shame that he gets treated this way, and I think he's finally understanding. And Callie's smart, intelligent. She's understood it, or she's began to understand it for a little bit, and now she's like there, and she's talked Jeff into it. They have the conversation where they're like, "I'm starting to think this is all bullshit." And it is funny how Jeff's like laying on the bed, like, we didn't get into any of the conversations with Misty because they're not that important. But
Right.
basically, he's just yelling at Misty in the hotel lobby. Then he's leaving her voicemails.
Well, they're both like frantically trying to find out where Shauna is, reasonably so. And we think it's
Oh,
funny,
yeah.
but then it's kind of like leaves a message to her own mother where it's like, hey, mom, like, I got to hear from you. I need to know that you're alive because she just went rogue. Like, she is out there doing God knows what, not checking in with her family. She's like, yo, send me a K message. I just got to hear something from you.
Give me a thumbs up emoji.
And
Jesus.
it's like sad to watch. And then that's kind of where it's like, listen, dad, I
Yeah.
think we both know what mom is and what's going on here, and we just don't want to actually admit it. Nobody's following her, like she's making this all up. She's just a little loco.
A little wild. And she could at least send a knife emoji. Come on, give her something, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, Jeff laying on the bed, having a little freak out, and Callie being like, "Yeah, I need you to be a grown up." And Jeff saying, "You're right. One of your parents has to be grown up." And she's like, "Well, what do you mean one?" Like, I mean, if I'm a child and it's my parent and you're missing like that, especially knowing everything you know and everything you've been through in this TV show, with the
Yeah.
fact that Shauna almost died last season, I'd be freaking out if I was Callie. So it's all totally understandable. Callie says, I kind of just have a feeling that mom's a little cray. And Jeff kind of lays it out. And he says it's similar to Melissa. So there is a little bit of a theme there. And then they decide they're getting the hell out of the Jolly Hitcher,
Yeah, yeah.
and love this scene with the checkout with Jeff. Always great. And then he has his scene with the Joels. And Callie is so proud of her dad behind him.
Oh, yeah. Well, like, listen, man, Jeff is a nice little salesman here, and that scene with the Joels, he's getting a little confidence in the tit for tat with the woman who's checking them out of their room, and oh, dude, Callie was so proud to see him throw Shauna under the bus. Like, listen, you know my pitch was money. You know it. It was my wife that said all the stuff. And let's be honest, like, it's not diagnosed, but like, she's crazy. Give
Yep.
me another shot. I think he's getting that deal with the Joels, man. FurnitureFam.net. Are you kidding me? Come on, get out of here, bozos.
FurnitureFam.net. Oh, and the Joels looked like they were talked into it, and Jeff had a great episode. So before we end, we obviously have MVP, LVP. I want to ask you one question. Lottie's death. We talked about the possibility that Walter is the child of Hannah and Edwin, or at least Hannah. Doesn't necessarily mean Edwin has to be the father, but we've received confirmation that Alex exists and is the daughter of Hannah.
Yep.
Walter was talked about as a suspect in the killing just because he said, hey, Shauna's DNA was under the fingerprints. He could say whatever he wants, and Misty could believe it because he is the one saying it. So if he's the killer, he could say anybody.
Right.
There is a big theory out there, and we're going to talk about it for literally 2 seconds because it is blasphemy. Kathleen, all the way from overseas, said it was blasphemy, but there is a theory out there that Jeff killed Lottie, and it didn't necessarily need to be like on purpose. Could be, a conversation where she trips and falls when he confronts her. But the theory here is that when Shauna returned to tell Jeff that Lottie was dead, when she returns from New York, he's home already, and he has some scratches on him. And obviously, Lottie scratched the side of the wall as she was
Yeah.
falling to her death. There's also the fact that Jeff read the books, the notebooks, and he knows who Lottie is. And then
Yep.
lastly, of course, he knows that Lottie is dangerous and the cult was dangerous and Lottie is a danger to his daughter. Could he have gone to confront Lottie and not even necessarily go to kill her, but confront her, and then he was involved in her death somehow? So we have Walter, we have Jeff, we now have Shauna, we have Melissa. Other tie as well. So
Other tie as well.
I want you to put it on the board. And let's have a sixth option. The sixth option is no one, just like Melissa said.
Right.
And it's all another part of the story where it's an accident and you guys are making it a big deal.
Yeah.
Or a seventh, and it's the wilderness. What wilderness?
Wow.
Put it on the board. What are you thinking here?
What am I thinking here? I just don't see it being any of the actual characters. Like, if it is someone, and again, I don't see it, but Shauna would be my number one. I don't see it from Walter. Maybe I should see him as more threatening because he's clearly capable and he's been suspiciously like 100% ride or die for Misty. So that wouldn't completely surprise me, but would it be terribly satisfying? I also don't think he's the kid. Jeff, I won't even entertain that theory. Kathleen's right. It is blasphemy. So I'm not going there.
Agreed.
I will say Shauna. She's off the rails. She was in New York. I kind of bought Ty's excuse that she was talking to Lottie about the van of it all. And Shauna still hasn't really given a tangible, why wasn't it you, Shauna? Like, maybe we need to hear from Walter for some more closure on that. But if it's someone, it's Shauna. My leading theory now is probably that it was nobody and it's a wilderness sort of coincidence. Lottie was, just had a fall.
Yeah. So the last thing I forgot to say, you jogged my memory here.
Yeah.
Another thing for Jeff, blasphemy, is that Shauna's DNA being under Lottie's fingernails would make sense if it was Jeff as well, because Jeff is her husband, right?
Yeah.
He could have her hair, her DNA, whatever it is, on him. But I want to do a quick correction. Kathleen did text us. I misspoke in the last episode when we were talking about Walter, and I said that Walter was a fanboy. It's Misty that accuses him of being a fanboy when she first meets him. I don't believe we have confirmation that he's actually a Yellowjackets fanboy, but who isn't a Yellowjackets fanboy or fangirl? But let's quickly go through the round here. Like you said, Brian, I think you logically laid out every single one, and I agree with you. I think that my answer is what wilderness. I think that it's going to be a scenario where whether they show it or not, maybe Lottie thinks she's speaking with the wilderness or having a throwdown. We know that she sat on her chair and talked to the Antler Queen, quote unquote, in season 2, where she was seeing the shadow. I don't know if she necessarily, I guess they did speak, whatever, but it could just be that she falls. And that fits exactly with everything that we said about this episode. I don't think it's other tie. I think that's fine. I think Melissa, unless we go your route where you said she's fully stalker Melissa and did everything, and that's the reveal. If we go there, that's fine. But otherwise, I don't think it's Melissa. I don't think it's Misty. We didn't say Misty, but people were accusing Misty. I don't think it's Walter. I think if I'm going to go with a person, I go Walter, and I go with a reveal that for some reason he's targeting them. I'm pretty sure I'm done with him being the child of Hannah because obviously Alex was revealed and we met Alex.
Yep.
Yeah, guys, hit us up on Discord. Let us know. Hit us up on the Spotify comments, YouTube. Let us know. Who do you think killed Lottie? Did anybody kill Lottie? Did the supernatural? Did the wilderness? Was it a coincidence? Could be any of the above. We have literally 7 options for you, so have fun with that.
There you go. All right. Are we ready for MVP and Buzzkill? All right. I'm going to let you go first. I've gone first.
All right. So I think this one is kind of easy for me. I'm going MVP Jeff, baby.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Let's
Saw that one coming.
Yes, Jeff, A+ episode. Everything about it was perfect. He's hilarious. He's a gem. He deserves MVP. My LVP is going to be, I'm not going to go Shauna, so I'm going to say Melissa, and I'm going to say adult Melissa. And
All right.
is it because of her actions as a character? Not necessarily. I think I'm giving it based off of the flatness of how I felt in the reveal and the episode in general with
Yeah.
the adult timeline. I yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. How about you? What are your thoughts?
My MVP is going to be young Nat. I
Oh, that
think
was my yeah, baby.
Yeah, I think
I
she's
agree.
fighting the good fight, trying to keep a little bit of the power from Shauna. And I think when Ty, Shauna, and Lottie were like, nah, we're staying, she accurately was just like, y'all are crazy. We're out of here. This is the
Yep,
best chance we've had in a while. So I think she kept them on track. It's obviously not going to work out, but like in the moment, that's the right call. You have to follow that
agreed.
lead. So young Nat MVP Buzzkill is now going to be a hard one. I will go with, oh man, I'll go with adult Shauna because
Yeah,
like
that was my other option.
this is the episode where it all comes to a head and people are like, "No, Shauna's just crazy," which we
Yep.
all knew Shauna was crazy and I love her for being crazy, but this is a different and worse brand of crazy. It's
Yeah.
dark crazy, you know? It's not just like fun, jovial Karen but with a knife crazy. It's a
Yeah.
little bit bad
Bite your arm
crazy.
crazy.
Yep. So
Take a
adult
chomp out of your
Shauna
arm crazy.
Adult Shauna
Uh,
gets the buzzkill.
that was my original buzzkill. I literally, it's
Good
funny.
stuff.
The four that I had on my list were taken by our four choices. And dude, before we end this episode, it's just to me, I would never have guessed from the beginning of Yellowjackets season 1 that Shauna would become this character. This character that we're having a lot of the fandom in this season being like, she's unwatchable, she's pissing me off, she's really annoying me, especially in the 90s timeline. There's a lot of redeeming scenes for Shauna early on in the show. And for whatever reason, I guess it was by design from the very beginning. I'm hoping that this was written and it's already written through beginning to end. Shauna's progression was what they wanted.
Yeah. And it's logical, maybe, but I think the words I've been saying, especially for young Shauna, is sometimes it's just been a hard watch. You know, I'm not going
Yeah,
to say
really.
unwatchable. It's just like tough to see her continuously make the same decisions. And
Right.
they haven't given us a lot of redeemable actions that have kind of balanced it out. It's just been all nonstop her making what I perceive as poor decisions. So,
Yep. Agreed.
Jimmy, in an episode where both of us started off by saying not the best, you know, a lot of questionable decisions, we are now an hour and a half in. This might be our longest ever episode of a Yellow Jackets coverage, and there's only two of us. Kathleen isn't even here.
We need Kathleen to reel us in.
Yeah,
Guys, she'll
we
be
do.
back next week.
Yep.
She will be
She
back next week and we'll be
she
back on our A games.
she is a good host. She runs a tight ship. I am just like, nah, say whatever you want, man. I'll just
Yeah.
enable you. I'll engage with you. And hey, you
Yeah,
know what?
right?
That's a different style of host. And if you keep following along with the Bingetown TV crew, that's what you're going to get. There's 7 of us. And oh, by the way, Dark and Twisted, which is where you are right now, is not our only podcast. We also have Binge Empire, which currently is covering The Wheel of Time season 3 over on Amazon, which I am hearing rave reviews about. And maybe that's because Kyle's a little
Yes,
biased, read the books, but it's getting some seriously good Rotten Tomatoes
it is.
reviews. So check that out. We also have Final Form, which is our animated TV show, anime podcast. They previously did Solo Leveling, just wrapped up Invincible. So a lot to catch up on there. The Unreal podcast is a reality TV show podcast. So if that's your cup of tea, Survivor's right around the corner. And there's a couple seasons of The Traders to catch up on. So that's over on the Unreal podcast. And then finally, maybe our golden child is going to be The Core, covering all things Apple TV. And if you want another long-winded Brian and Jimmy dynamic duo
Darn right.
podcast, we just started a show called The Studio, which in classic Apple TV fashion did not get the marketing that it deserved. But I am telling you, jump on the train now because we were blown away with the first two episodes of that show. It just released literally. This is the 27th that we're recording. It was released Wednesday, the 26th of March. And get on now because you're going to be hearing about it in the next couple weeks as these episodes get released. It was a great show, and you can find that over on The Core, covering all things Apple TV Plus. But that is going to do it for Jimmy and I on the Dark and Twisted podcast, season 3, episode 8 of Yellowjackets. For better or for worse, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we are the Dark and Twisted podcast, and thank you so much for listening.
Buzz, 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 buzz.